Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Look, I told you I was going to make a video and I wanted to talk to you about the Cuda project. It's a Barracuda mismatch of a whole bunch of different parts and years. My good friend Dave at Rust Bucket Restorations here on YouTube, he's doing a lot of cool stuff. Sold me, I guess, a lot of his old Cuda. I have a lot of it now. And the good and the bad, more the rust bucket part than the good part. But I kind of wanted to go over some of it with you and show you. Some of it's going to look familiar. Some of it's going to look bad. But you got to follow me on this. If you've seen the thumbnail at the beginning of the video, that's my wife's Barracuda. I'm going to put a couple more pictures and stuff in here. It was unbelievably hard to unload this engine setup because he cut it off basically at the firewall. So it's like the firewall forward, engine, transmission, front end. But I need all the front end stuff, so let's go over. First stop here today. This is the front end of Dave's Cuda. Yeah. You know, a lot of guys will look at this and they'll be like, oh my God, what is this junk? What's even usable here? What's, you know. Thing about it is this is a 1971 318. If you know anything about the old school engines and things like that, you know that's a good engine. I don't know if it's locked up yet. I'm going to find that out. More than likely, I'm going to rebuild this one and sell it. It just depends on what my wife wants to do, but it also has a transmission with it. So a lot of people would ask, why would you pay money for these types of parts? Well, because this is the stuff I need right here with your lower control arms. It has the K-member, some of the steering components. I mean, a lot of this is going to get replaced, but there's major pieces that you kind of need. Plus, I'll be doing a front disc brake conversion because this one obviously has the drums. But I need all that stuff. I need all those components for my wife's car. Some of these frame pieces like this, I mean, so easily just be thrown away. But the thing with these is you can make good patches out of some of this. I don't know what they were doing with Dave's car, but they used a cutting torch. This was prior. This is what it looked like when Dave cut it off. You can see Dave's work opposed to somebody else's when they crudely removed the inner fender well. But yes, this is basically the front workings of Dave's car. I mean, it's all pretty present here, but there's so many good little parts and pieces, and that's the key to some of this stuff. You know, again, you've got a ton of front end pieces here, and I need the cross member, and I need the upper and lower control arms. I'm still going to have to come up with some torsion bars, but again, you know, you've got some frame pieces here. Where there's some surface stuff on my wife's that I can just chop right out of this and not even trip. You know, there's just all kinds of possibilities with so much of this stuff. You should save it. You should do what Dave did, because so much of this stuff is invaluable to other guys. The Barracuda we're building for my wife is absolutely unsavable. So my wife's Cuda is buried currently in a little 20 by 20 shop that we built behind my house. It's buried by snow. It's got about 5 foot around the whole entire thing. I can't get back there. I'll get a video up on that as soon as I possibly can. I got to dig it out, and then I can get in there and show you guys some pictures and stuff. But I want to try to save it. It's not savable. By all rights, it should have been crushed. We paid $500 for it. It cost me more to ship it because it came from North Dakota down here to the southern tip of Wyoming, basically Utah. But it sat there. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know if we was going to rebody. We didn't know X, Y, and Z. But luckily for me, I have friends like Dave from Rust Bucket Restorations who have tons of good stuff like this that will help propel the project forward. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so many of these patch pieces and fill pieces and things like that. So when I have to go buy, because I'm sure I have to buy 2 rear frame rails for that car, a trunk floor, an entire floor, both quarter panels, you know, all that kind of stuff, it's cutting so much cost from me as a normal guy, because I'm a normal guy. I'm not sponsored. I don't have tons of money just falling out of my butt where I could just order all this stuff new. And even then, I don't know that I would, because to replace the front frame rails, to do the things that Dave is doing, is time consuming. Not so much the expense, but it's time consuming. Lots of measuring, lots of cutting, and I work a full-time job and I do a lot of stuff just like Dave, but I just don't have the time to do a lot of that stuff. So it's nice to be able to fix maybe a little bit of what's there to try to save some of the car. But anyway, now let's move on. The next thing is this baby rear end. Just the little fella that came with the car. It's got some sweet wheels on it though, but there's a reason for this right here. It has the leaf springs and it has the hangers, except for the shackles have been cut, but I have some on the other car. This, along with this front end, will allow me to roll the car outside of the warehouse that it's been living in. So again, it'll help me to roll the car out. It'll help me to get the car stable enough to start doing some work and get it out of its corner that it's buried in right now, so we can stand back and look at things, because that's very important to be able to stand back and look at your body lines and things like that. And so, yeah, we got the rear end as well that we're going to use for now. I would like to do an 8 3/4 or, you know, like a Dana 60 or something eventually with it. But this is going to be just fine just to roll the car around and just get the car to move again. I don't know the last time that Barracuda actually had a front and rear end under it. I mean, it's just literally insane. The car was just laying on its belly in a field. And so, yeah. Anyway, let's move on to some of this other stuff over here. Dave also sold me this literal mint condition flat hood. And obviously my wife wants something a little better than the flat hood. So we're thinking about cutting the center, maybe possibly make a shaker hood out of this one, or sell this hood and just buy her a regular Cuda hood with the scoops. But I mean, look at this hood. It's like literally incredible. It's in perfect shape. I mean, it's it's unfortunate that they're not desirable, but this hood is in great shape. So I mean, if any of you guys maybe need a hood or want to buy this one or want a flat hood, let me know. If not, I think we can probably use it. We'll probably just make her a sweet shaker hood out of it, but I'd really hate to cut it. Then we'll move down the line. Yet again, this is a lot of the stuff from Dave's car. We've got this fender. Obviously, they are different. You can see the marker lights. But we've got the two fenders right here, and they're in pretty good shape. I mean, they've got their normal Mopar stuff. That is easy to fix. That's all that's wrong with that fender. This one, it's kind of bent up a little bit, and it's got some dings along the front. Of course, very normal stuff, but fixable for sure. I mean, fenders are very expensive. So if you can fix these, and I trust my body work enough, these will be great. These will be a great addition to the car. I just have to figure out which marker light she wants to use. I also got the original quarter panels off of Dave's car. He was just going to toss them, just junk them. They make sweet wall hangers. And you can see they still have the marker lights in them. So, I mean, those are nice to have too. So you can disassemble them, maybe change the reflectors or the lights out in them. Both of them are here. But you can see what Dave was working with when you talk about it. A lot of guys are just like, oh, it couldn't have been that bad. It could have been fixed. I mean, no. You guys, I mean, he took the stuff off the car that just absolutely is not workable. And this kind of stuff is just not... If you're leaving this kind of stuff on the car, man, hopefully you cut enough away that you're not going to have a rotten body later on, because yikes. And then I got both the front seats, and they're both basically in this condition, which is fine because the General Lee, as you know, I had to recover their stuff, and I do that myself. It's very easy. You get the new covers. These will probably need new foam and covers. But the seat frames, yet again, guys, a lot of people throw this stuff away. And the problem is, it's so hard to get some of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is there's the rear seat right there. And it's the frames, man. You can get the foam and the material for cheap. I mean, it's much cheaper than having to buy these dang things. So, you know, Dave made me a package deal on all these goodies. But anyhow, yeah, so then there was a gas tank too, and the gas tank's actually in really good shape. David considered keeping it, but he thought, I guess, maybe since he's putting all brand new stuff that he would, you know, go ahead and hook me up just a little bit. So I've got a good gas tank, but then I kept his floor remnants too. I'm probably not going to use a lot of this. But it's always nice to have the sheet metal around in case you need something. You never really know what you're going to need. So you got to save this kind of stuff, you know, because, I mean, here's the rear seat section out of Dave's car. And I mean, obviously when you get the new pans and stuff, it fills all this stuff in, so you don't actually need any of the actual sheet metal stuff. But there's things on here that sometimes the sheet metal doesn't come with. Like, for instance, this bracket right here. I'm not saying specifically him, because I don't know. Maybe the new ones do. But then you've got your rear seat hold down right here. You've got spots where your seat belts go in. Things like that. This kind of stuff is important. And people do look for that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, as you become more and more of a Mopar guy, you start to hoard this kind of stuff because, like, looking at this, you're like, oh my God, look at all this junk. But then did you notice there was a seat belt right here? But not only that, but the seatbelt bracket. Now, it may look rusty, but you clean that up, heat that bolt out, get that out of there, you've got an assembly right there. Do you see what I'm saying? So, yeah, my parts haul for the Barracuda. I'm really hoping to at least get the car down on the ground. Right now, it's up on jack stands. It's sitting in my lower shop. It's bad. Really bad. It's not really deserving of a second chance at life. And I'm trying to, on a budget, figure out how I can stick this together, but do it right. So if I can save some money on repairing certain things, then I can spend a little bit of money on, you know, like obvious stuff. Floorboards, trunk pan, rear frame rails, quarter panels, things like that. I don't know, maybe a new Cuda hood, you don't know. But if I save money on everything else, it makes it a little easier to put that money to the places where it needs to go. So, stick with me. I'll be back with more stuff, and we'll continue on this saga. The Cuda is going to be, it's going to be worth the watch, because I'm kind of like a mix between, I don't know, I'm more leaning towards like pole barn garage than I am freaking, you know, rust bucket restorations. I'm somewhere kind of in the shady area right there between the two channels. I think we're gonna have fun. I think it's gonna be cool, and it'll be nice to be able to put a car back on the road that should have been crushed. So stay tuned.